Can short men still get women? Well, the short answer is yes.
Yes, 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 yes.
If you do things correctly. In this video, I want to lay out the differences of where I see short men going wrong. Now, me personally, I'm 5'8". My head coach is 5'5", and we've coached so many clients over the years. I've coached 1,000+ men at this point, and I would say at least half of them come into my program somewhere between, on the low end, 5'4", 5'5", 5'6", 5'7", 5'8". And then occasionally there's even a guy who's like 5'9", 5'10", and he's like, well, I'm not 6 foot, which is comical to even think that a guy who's 5'9" or 5'10" is in his head about height. But I understand why, because there's this big idea online especially that like if you're not 6 foot, then the girl doesn't even want you. And so guys have this narrative in their head that if I'm not tall, then I can't get women. And that is completely bullshit. And I want to explain in this video why that is, and more importantly, what you need to do if you are a man who's, I don't know, I guess you could say under 5'10". But that's only because I've never met somebody who was 5'11" who was in their head about height, but I have met guys who are 5'8", 5'9", who think that they're short and they think it's a problem. And then as you go shorter and shorter and shorter, it becomes an even bigger problem in men's heads. So first, let's just look at the stats. I just Googled this actually, because I was like, I wonder what these numbers actually are. The average female in USA is 5'3", okay? 5'3". I just looked up what percentage of men are shorter than 5'3" in the USA. They said less than 2% is actually 5'2" or shorter. Less than 2%. So this video is for anybody who's 5'3" to 5'9", 5'10". If you're over that, just get the f off of this video. You don't even have a problem. If you're shorter than that, actually the principles still apply to you as well, because keep in mind, that's the average woman that's 5'3". That means that there are a lot of women that are 5'2", 5'1", 5 foot, 4'11", and the shortest girl I ever dated was 4'10", 4'11". I don't know exactly what she was, but she was like under 5 foot. And so the way that you could look at this is how I always looked at it, is that I don't even think it's a problem at all, as long as you're at least eye contact with the woman. Like if you're eye level and if you're talking to a woman and you are just straight eye level with her, what the f is the problem? What is the problem? How could you even think that you're short if you could just look at this girl straight? Now look, if you're really short and she's really tall and you're literally looking up to her and the girl's looking down on you, I'm not talking about when she has high heels on, that doesn't count. I'm talking about when she's flat foot and she's actually looking down at you. Okay, cool. But even still with those women, you can still get them. That's the crazy thing. You don't need to be taller than her. As long as you're eye level, I don't even think there's like a thought that should be going on in your head, because you're literally just looking at her. So like, there's not a problem there. When it comes to shortness and creating attraction with women, it's very correlated to like muscles, right? Do you need to be jacked to get women? No, you don't actually. In fact, there's a lot of scrawny men that can still get women. There's a lot of short men that can still get women. Why? Because they can still demonstrate to some extent a level of dominance or sexual intensity, because that is what it's all about. It has nothing to do with your actual muscle. It means nothing to her. We're not in the wild anymore. You're not going to need to fight off a jaguar tomorrow. Do you understand that? So the muscle doesn't actually mean anything. It just implies something. It implies that this guy likely is strong. This guy likely has discipline. This guy likely put in a lot of work and could most likely handle things. That's the assumption that we would make. Now, if she goes up and starts talking to you and you indicate that you can't do any of that, you actually indicate that you're a fucking wimp and that you're really weak and that you're scared of confrontation and that you can't fight and you're gonna back away from every possible threat because you're worried you're gonna get your ass kicked, then guess what? The guy that has more muscle, it's not attractive anymore. Just like a guy who looks like maybe the size of Bruce Lee, but he can fight like Bruce Lee, that guy's gonna be confident as fuck, right? So it has nothing to actually do with the muscle itself. At a glance it does, like it can create intrigue, or there could be a lot of honest signals that could be implied off of that. But I've met a lot of tall men that are significantly taller than the woman that the girls are initially attracted to, and then they go up and talk to them, and then they realize through the communication that this guy's actually not that confident. This guy's actually not a leader. This guy actually can't even dominate me with his eye contact. So I'm just not confident in him as a leader, or him being a dominant figure, or him having any sort of confidence or sexual intensity to him, that if we were to mate, I just don't feel attracted that he could do those things for me. She could meet a man who's shorter than her, scrawnier than her, but he has so much confidence. And the way he speaks with certainty, and the way he leads with certainty, and the way he looks at her, and the way he doesn't take her shit verbally, right? So if you're short, can you still get women? Of course, but keep in mind, it's about the total package that you present to the woman. So a man that is shorter and scrawnier, he will need to demonstrate a little bit more that he has some sort of dominance. He has some level of intensity. He is a good leader. He could dominate her sexually. That doesn't need to be blatantly stated. These things are sub-communicated. A guy who's 6'6" and jacked doesn't need to communicate that as much. Do you understand why? Because if we look at him, there's a lot of implied things there. Unless he blatantly starts displaying weaknesses in those categories, the woman will then test him for congruence. Just like if you're a shorter guy, she's gonna be a little less sold on the idea that you're good at these things, so you might get tested a little bit more on the front end. That's all it really comes down to. Anybody that's been with enough women or has enough experience with women, doesn't mean you need to have a high body count, but any guy that I know that's had experience with women or is confident with women, he knows not to take them so seriously, because at the end of the day, what are they really gonna do? Like, a woman's not gonna fucking pull out a knife and just stab you. Like, she's not actually a threat. She's just potentially a threat to your ego if she rejected you or broke up with you. But she's not actually a life-threatening potential risk where you're gonna die from the woman. So when you've interacted with enough women, you realize that, okay, like, there's nothing that crazy here other than I possibly get rejected. And when you've had enough successes, you realize what it actually takes to demonstrate confidence to a woman and create attraction with women, right? So it's not so much about height. Now look, I'm not gonna lie and say height doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, I could have two guys, if they're exactly the same, and one guy is 6 foot, the other guy is 5'3", the guy that's 6 foot will have more success. Undoubtedly. I'm not lying about that. That is 100% facts. Height is an attractive attribute, period. It is not the only attribute. And that's why I'm saying, if you have a low attribute of height, well then you better do everything in your power to max out the other attributes that you have as a man. It is merely one attribute. The same way that it's like, well, can a guy who's bald get women? Yes. Can a guy who doesn't have that much money get women? Yes. Can a guy who's short get women? Yes. Can a guy who doesn't have that much muscle get women? Yes. Can a guy who doesn't know how to fight get women? Yes. Can a guy who lives in his mom's basement get women? Yes. I could show you any scenario of a man who has one attribute that's very low and he could still get success with women because he likely contains several of the other attributes. Now, if all of these attributes are really low, then that's where you're in trouble. But the good news is that height is really one of the only factors that's kind of out of your hands. So that's what bothers me. First off, guys online think that I'm really tall, and I'm not fucking tall by any means. I guess I'm average or maybe slightly below average. I don't know. I'm like somewhere right on that border. Because of online dating and stuff and TikTok and Instagram, guys think that women really only want men that are 6 foot plus. I would say at least half of the population is gonna be way shorter than you, or at least a little bit shorter than you, right? So as long as you're 5'3", 5'4", 5'5", you're still taller than a decent amount of women. And on top of that, even if you're eye level with the girl or whatever height, as long as you have the other attributes in your favor and you can display confidence, you can lead properly, you can communicate as a leader and demonstrate these other factors, you can for sure still attract women. Are there men that are taller and better looking that have an advantage over you? Yes. And there are men that are taller and better looking than me that have an advantage over me. So what? Who gives a f***? Who cares? I'm gonna do everything in my power to max out my character, to give myself the best chances given the cards I was dealt with. I have the option to either do that, or I have the opposite option to point the finger, to cry, to make excuses, to blame the world, to post negative comments, to discredit everything else that I could do to make myself be in as good of a position as possible. Those are the two choices. You wanna fucking cry about this shit, man? You wanna blame it on height? Or you want to accept whatever height you are and you do everything else in your power to max out your character. Those are the two choices, man. You can be one or the other, and the guys in the comments will see very clearly which one is which, right? That's all it is. Now, if you want to max out the other pillars, if you want more confidence, you want to get into more interactions with women, you want to have a more abundant dating life, you want to have success, confidence, and really just have the dating life you've always dreamed of, regardless of your height, I can help you with that. There is an in-depth training down below where I talk about my whole backstory, my whole journey, the clients I've helped, and how I can help you accomplish your goals with women in dating. Link is down below. That's all for this video, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.